think you're going, huh? Give me a break. Come on, please. Woohoo! Now this is the life. You're tougher than steel, true as an arrow, and you can fly. The best butt a guy could ever ask for. I'm only back because this guy dragged me here. That's Death Mountain! Oh, don't do this to me, bud, please! We barely catch our breath after cleaning up here, and he's already got his eyes trained somewhere else. You hear that, bud? You're a knight now. But you know, the journey in life's not so bad when I'm living it with you. Come on, think! What do I do? No. You're here for my butt, aren't ya? You're done for.
So I guess there's one final construct battle here. You sure you're okay to fight, bud? This time, I'm gonna finish him off for good. Vessel of Darkness Forbidden Construct. We're not letting him past us, no matter what. I don't know how I'd switcheroo that. Okay. Yeah, he's even tougher than last time. Okay. As long as he's not as tough as the first time. Dang. Dang, that actually did a decent amount of damage to me there. Sorry you gotta fight all beat up like that, bud. It's my fault for not being more careful. Okay. Come on. He's always too far. This guy's strong, but we're never giving in. Okay. Come on. Get far away from that. Is this still in time? Nope. Come way too far to lose now. Okay, come on. I'm doing like no damage to that weak point gauge. This is gonna be a long battle. Ugh. Dang it. Okay. Now is maybe the time to start pumping in a bunch of materials. How do these work again? Just gives me different effects and stuff. So this guy was a Link clone. I thought you meant fighting style, not literal clone. Yeah, kind of both here. This doesn't help me quite yet. No, nothing's really gonna help me there, I don't think. Okay. Okay, do a little bit of stuff there. Okay, keep up the flames. Still not weak point smashing him though. But we'll get there. I'm about halfway on the very first weak point smash. Jeez. Come on. Nope. Come on. Here, I play as Calmo. I can guarantee that he's gonna be close enough. Then. Okay. The music's pretty cool. Not gonna lie. Okay, this time I can stop that. Okay. I think I would honestly prefer it without the adapting music. Like, the adapting here with, like, the, you know, the singing in the background there. It's kind of cool, but I think overall I just prefer it with the adaptive music gone even here. Okay. Come on. Okay. Okay. Here, better weak point smash off of this. There it is. The very first weak point smash. Okay. Gale boomerangs. Here we go. Let's see if I can do this first try. Oh, it's doing another cutscene. Is it going to transition to midair? So many of these cutscenes have so many missing sound effects. I was feeling that during the Ganondorf encounter there as well, towards the end when he's overpowering us. I didn't say anything then. I'll say it now. That's kind of cool. So we're taking to the skies, huh? Fine by me, as long as we bring him down. Oh, that's kind of cool, actually. Well, I guess no point holding on to these anymore. Him with everything we've got, bud. Okay. Oh. I see. Oh, that's interesting. Look out for that cannon. There we go. Put more flames onto him. This is kind of cool how it transitions to the flight. Uses his own weapons against him, bud? Yeah, always full of good ideas. Okay. I wasn't expecting that, but, you know, I'm glad that this is a thing. Because that's kind of cool. Well, yeah, we're doing a Star Fox mission here now. Okay. More rockets. He's just gonna kind of be there and take it? Nope. Okay. Interesting. Can only move it down to a certain point with, like, the manual aiming here. Oh, I almost got the fire on him. Right now, Rara and the others are probably going toe-to-toe with the Demon King. But none of that means a darn thing if we can't beat this guy up here. What do you mean, lamest Star Fox mission I've ever seen? This is cool. The hell are you talking about? Okay. Come on. Whoa. Some rockets, please. Oh my god. Oh my. So it does get a little crazy there. Oh, we're playing Toho now. Crap. Oh boy. I'm kind of destroying his rockets as he sends them out. Come on. Slowly but surely here. Oh, transitioning to the next part. Practically falling apart, but still brave as ever. You really are the best, bud. Oh my god. I'm not about to give up either. You and me are in this together to the end. That's what that said. Come on, almost got the flames on him. There it is. Okay, weak point smash. So we're gonna have to mash here. Hey, we do this. We're almost there. Okay, last little push here. Oh, I didn't even see that you were shooting at me there. With what? What is hitting me? What is hitting me? Genuinely, what is hitting me? We lost something. Yeah, my rocket level's been going down now. Okay, come on. Doing this again? Whoa. Okay, just the two this time, it looks like. Last little push. Build up that fire, nice. Weak point smash, that might just do it. That might just see it through. Press repeatedly. Yeah, that's gonna be it then. Right? Or we have to do a final, like, quick time event or something. Just that, okay. Be the finisher.
Let's finish this, bud. You and me, together.
So we go back to one more grounded battle. Music's pretty cool. What? Oh no. Don't. Oh my god. Well, it didn't go off the screen, but this is it. One last push, bud. Oh, it reset my stuff at least, and it's probably a checkpoint. Let's end this once and for all. Oh my god. They did the health bar thing. Oh my god, well that sort of worked. I'm done being scared of this guy. Now and forever. He's attacking from above. Shoot him out of the sky, bud. High five time. Let's do this. I'm going all in on the fire front for this battle. Fire it is. Very slowly building up. I mean, this builds it up a decent bit faster. Okay. Yeah, I gotta switch to this layout here so you can actually see what I'm doing. But that one left a scratch. Why is it blue? Okay. Oh, that music's cool. He's trying to rush us. Okay, come on. Yeah. Ah! Everything I've done so far, that's it. This super massive health bar. Welcome to very hard mode. Oh, this is gonna suck. It's gonna be a long battle. Hey, don't get hit by any of those. I know those do wicked damage. Okay, come on. Come on. You really like doing that shockwave. At least it doesn't damage me. Oh, but the vortex still went that way. Interesting. Oh, my god. Okay, come on. Nope, not doing anything about that right now. I'll do power surge after this weak point smash. I got a bad feeling about this. Don't let him catch you off guard. Okay. Come on. Nope. Come on. Come on. Okay. Quite the laser there, huh? Whoops, wrong thing. Okay. Come on. Damn it! Come on. Here we go. Do this. Come on. Hey, it's actually working. Keep it up. Come on. Okay, I'll just do the 2 strings and then the weak point smash while I pick up a random blue nightshade. Fuck! That is a shit ton of damage. Oh my god. Come on. Oh my god, that was close. Okay, come on. I'm trying to like hyper focus here. That's what I'm kind of trying to do. Nope. Not this time here. Okay, come on. Almost on that. Oh, damn it. Come on, fire. There it is. Looks like he's not going down without a fight. High five time. Okay. More flames, how about? More fire fruit. Build up that flame on him again. His health bar is so huge. Especially in very hard mode. Come on. Once we beat this guy, the war's gonna be all over and done with. Right, bud? And then it's gonna be my turn to drag you around. Because I still gotta find a spot to put down roots. Oh, that was a lot of damage there. Not like that will be a problem for me and you. It's gonna be great. It's gonna go great. I'm sure of it. I don't think the Night Construct is gonna live past this. Here. Give that a go. Okay, they're not doing adaptive music on this one, I'm realizing. I got so sucked into the moment that I didn't even realize. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Don't want to jinx them here. Hey, come on. I like how he transforms into the glider there briefly. That is pretty cool. Okay, come on. Oh, I got it again. Wow. Perfect opportunity for that when you're doing that. That works out extremely well. Okay. Fire. There it is. Come on. Heh, take that. Might just do that for safety's sake, just in case. Okay, come on. Come on. Okay. Okay. Kaboom! He's wide open. Probably not the best time to mention this, but I got something to tell you. Did I just interrupt that? Yeah, definitely not the best time. What? We're never gonna know what he was gonna say.
I've seen this before, and now, Hyrule!
That pride will be your downfall, Ganondorf!
plan to hold me here. What a clever way to solve your problems. But are you ready to pay the price for this?
Don't be so smug. I know exactly what it will cost me.
Thousands of years will pass in the blink of an eye. You only delay the inevitable.
You're wrong. Years from now, someone will appear with the sword that seals the darkness. A swordsman with the power to defeat you. Link. Remember this name.
Bud, no! Maybe this is why you were here all along. To give your life and keep Hyrule safe in the process. It's way more than I could do. So I've made up my mind. This is where I'm putting down roots. You gave all you had to protect this land. Now it's my turn to do the same. You're the best friend a guy could ever ask for, bud. And it's time we end our journey together.
A Clash of Constructs. Should have had a cooler final battle name. I'm also realizing that the reason why the sound effects could be lacking is because I turned them down so I could actually hear the music. That is occurring to me here. So is that the game? I beat it? It's closing cutscene time?
Lunalia?
Lady Zelda! And Lady Minoru, too! Shouldn't you be getting some rest right now?
Please, you needn't worry. I see you've made good progress, too.
I have. Thank you. I swear to you, I'll finish these murals if it's the last thing I do. Someday, Ganondorf will rise again. I only hope this record can help those who will stand against him. And keep our story alive for centuries to come. I just wish the Night Construct could be a part of it.
There's no telling when such a technology might one day bring the world to ruin. In that sense, it's better we don't remember it.
I suppose there's a chance another might surface. And if an account of our companions still remained, people could exploit it for their own dark purposes. Even so, it's as if our friends were removed from history, like they never existed.
This isn't something to be sad about. They found a place to end their journey. And one day, it will be a beautiful forest. That's their story. Proof they fought beside us. Even if nobody tells it in words, the tale will live on with the land itself. And I swear, I'll never forget them.
Then that means you're going through with it.
Yes. I'll stop Ganondorf, however I must.
Right.
Our hopes and dreams will live on. And in the distant future, they'll be fulfilled.
Well, I guess that's it. Also, is that the Lost Woods there? Man, it got loud all of a sudden there. I don't know why they couldn't have just, you know, told the history with the Night Construct and Calamo, but just treat them like, you know, like they were people. Not be like, oh yeah, the Night Construct was like this super powerful robot and stuff that was awakened from a, you know, this deep depths thingamabob there. You know, they could have just been like, oh yeah, he was a guy that showed up, and not really go further into it than that, and then still recount it. But okay, I guess they need to have no mention of Night Construct and Tears of the Kingdom, so that's kind of the excuse for that. Alright, well, that was Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which I feel like is definitely the worst of the Hyrule Warriors games. I think it might be my least favorite of the Nintendo Warriors games in general. Where should I start here? How about the story, I guess? If you had already played Tears of the Kingdom, the only real new elements that it brings to the story that you weren't really aware of in Tears of the Kingdom are that of the Night Construct and Calamo. And you know, those are the only two original characters in this that I really actually liked. You know, those two I liked here. Maybe if they had DLC like they did for Age of Calamity, we shall see here. But I mean, even the stuff that we already knew about from Tears of the Kingdom, like when Ganondorf Falcon punched Sonia there. In Tears of the Kingdom, he had like this wicked, like really iconic laugh, and they didn't even put that in the game. So that was kind of disappointing there. There just wasn't really that much new added to the table. It's really the story of like the Night Construct and Calamo. I guess that there's like some other subplots, like Kia, her father was killed by the evil construct, so she's a little bit skeptical of the Night Construct at first, but then she learns that he's not that bad and she can work together with him. You know, some very minor character development like that. You know, it's not really worth the price of entry for those other characters. So if you can get behind the story of like the Night Construct and Calamo, then like, hey, enjoy the story that way. But outside of that, it doesn't really add anything new to the table. It's just a whole bunch of fillery stuff that we would have been able to somewhat infer. And it's just not particularly interesting. The story is such a nothing burger. Like, when it came to Breath of the Wild, we had found out that there was an interesting story going on in the past. These champions were like actual characters that we got to see and like some of their personality and stuff like that. And Zelda was like a character that had like actual character development. what with needing to come to terms with the fact that, like, maybe she couldn't live up to the expectations that have been placed upon her shoulders, and she desperately wants to try and live up to those expectations, but can't no matter what she tries. Meanwhile, Link and the champions around her are all excelling in their roles, and she's the one person that can't quite figure out how to do what she needs to do. And so there's the character development that goes on there about being able to find her inner strength, accept herself as she is. Like, there's character development that goes on there, but we just hear about it secondhand in Breath of the Wild. So I didn't really like the story of Breath of the Wild for that reason, because we just, you know, hear about a story that's already happened in snippets. But then when Age of Calamity was coming out, I was like, okay, you know, I was intrigued about the story of Breath of the Wild and the character development there. And I made the argument that Zelda was essentially the main character, while Link was the lead supporting character, even if he's like the main hero that you play as there. So part of me was kind of intrigued about actually seeing that story happening, playing out, and seeing that character development. And so Age of Calamity actually had a story that I cared about, because we had like a main character to follow throughout it all, being Zelda, and we were like grounded in the story through that plot that we actually kind of wanted to see what was going on with that plot line. Like, I didn't play Age of Calamity to know what the events were. We already knew that from Breath of the Wild. I wanted to play Age of Calamity to see these characters that were revealed to actually be characters, and see like the actual development that I'd actually only heard snippets about in Breath of the Wild. Whereas with Tears of the Kingdom to this game, it's not like there was any character development or anything that we would have heard about during Tears of the Kingdom that makes me go, oh man, I really want to see this play out with these characters in a prequel game. I really want to see it happen. Instead, this really was just, hey, there was events that we heard about in Tears of the Kingdom, here they are playing out. Like, if that's all Age of Calamity was, then that game would have probably kind of sucked too. So, like, Age of Calamity let us actually see a character-driven story. But Age of Imprisonment is just, oh yeah, here's what happened, with the only thing, like, really new being brought to the table being this, the Night Construct and Calamo. And again, them I did like, but it's not enough to carry the experience, especially when this is a $100 video game. Oh, there's Zelda, I guess. Considering the positioning of Death Mountain and the Zora area that I forget the name of, I'd say that's probably the Great Deku Tree, is what Calamo became. Though the area didn't really look like it, like the surrounding hills and stuff. Just the general where it is in the world with those other landmarks, I'd say that's probably the Great Deku Tree. Alright, I still have a decent bit of review stuff to talk about. So yeah, the story's done. So that places the other story missions along the map or something? Oh, okay. So that's the post-game stuff. I still have a lot of things to talk about here. I don't think I'm going to be engaging with the post-game of this game. Vicious enemies. Vicious enemies will now appear across the land. They are extraordinarily strong and pose a great threat to the surrounding area. Defeat them for extra rewards. Linalia's sketches. I almost read that as stickers. Linalia has begun drafting sketches in the hopes of one day finishing her murals. Complete all the quests in each region to help her draft out all of her sketches for a special reward. New challenges and quests added. New challenges and quests are available. Completing them will not raise the contribution level for their respective regions or affect Linalia's progress in drafting her sketches, but they will grant even better rewards than usual. I wasn't even playing on the hardest difficulty, are you kidding me? New difficulty forbidden. You can now enter the fray at a new difficulty beyond very hard. The difficulty setting can be changed in the options menu. See if you have the medal to overcome all battles on forbidden difficulty. I mean, I guess they just wanted to add that as a post-game thing, just so it's like, okay, if you're going and doing some missions that are really low level and you're over-leveled for it, then maybe you can play on forbidden. Like, maybe that's the point of it. Because, yeah, you should definitely on a first playthrough not buff it up past very hard. So, very good that that wasn't unlocked at the beginning, because, my god! That's, certainly something here, huh? General settings. Forbidden is for those who crave the ultimate challenge against overwhelming odds. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah, apply the thing. There we go. When you complete a battle on forbidden difficulty, a special that icon will appear to the left of the complete. In addition, when playing on forbidden, the retry option will return you to the beginning of the current battle. Yikes. Why do I have this load up? Oh, that's how you can check the things there. I don't know how I opened that up, but... Okay. Okay. Well, I guess I'll finish my review here. So, yeah, the story didn't really bring enough new to the table. And I guess when people complained about Age of Calamity, they were like, oh yeah, come to this game and experience the canonical story of what led into Tears of the Kingdom. But when I played Tears of the Kingdom, I was not at all intrigued in what came before. Like, again, my biggest issue with Breath of the Wild was that there isn't really much in the way of story in the present. You just hear little snippets of a story that already happened. The story almost exclusively exists in the past. But there was something intriguing going on in the past. There was character development going on with Zelda. There was, like, characters that were shown to be, like, actual characters and have relationships with one another in ways that could be interesting to explore in, like, a proper game. And so when Age of Calamity came out, I was like, whoa, I kind of want to see that. The thing that I mostly wanted to see was Zelda's character development, and I wasn't disappointed with that in that game. I thought that that was pretty good. But then with Tears of the Kingdom, I was like, oh man, a sequel to Breath of the Wild. Finally, they're not going to make the same mistake as Breath of the Wild. There's actually going to be story in the present, like the main plot is going to be in the present. Because they can't just do a thing in the past anymore. They already did that. They somehow found a way. They, somehow, Palpatine returned equivalent thing there. Because the past leading into Tears of the Kingdom is even further in the past than Breath of the Wild was. And so you do the exact same thing about just going around the world collecting snippets of a story that already happened. But unlike Breath of the Wild, the story that already happened just isn't interesting. That's definitely one of my biggest complaints about Tears of the Kingdom there, is we do the exact same thing, the story's already happened, we just hear about it, but there isn't really any character development or anything. Not the Guardians, the Sages. All the Sages are just generic faceless characters. Some of them didn't even have faces underneath the masks if you went and, like, dug into the code of the game, interestingly enough, like a Graston there. Apparently he had no head under it. So, both literally and figuratively faceless, just generic. Oh, these are like the champion equivalents that helped seal away Ganondorf however long ago. It's like, okay, that's not really something that I care about. The only characters that really mattered in the past were Rauru, Minoru, and Zelda. And, you know, there would be a little bit of intrigue with them, I guess. You know, maybe the tiniest little smidge of importance ever with Sonya, but, like, not really. Her purpose is to, like, say some things to Zelda that inspires her, and then die so that Ganondorf can take his secret stone after Falcon punching her. So, there wasn't really all that much in the way of characters in the past that were all that important. Whereas Breath of the Wild, you had Link, Zelda, the King of Hyrule there, Urbosa, frickin' Mipha, Rivali, and Daruk. And you also had Pura as well, is another one that existed back then. So, I don't know if I'm missing, like, any other ones here. But already at that, we do have, like, a cast of characters established either through flashbacks or Pura in the case of, you know, just hearing about that out in the world, even if you didn't see her. Oh, Impa, another one. We're up to 9. So we already have, like, a cast of characters that are recognizable from Breath of the Wild and established to be, like, actual characters that you might want to learn more things about. Whereas the 9 from Breath of the Wild to Age of Calamity is only 3 in the case of Tears of the Kingdom to Age of Imprisonment, being Zelda, Rauru, and Minoru. And it's not like any of them really had much in the way of character development that I was interested to learn about. The story of Tears of the Kingdom is like, oh yeah, Zelda somehow got transported to the past. I don't remember what the reason behind that is. There's some reason why she got transported to the past. Ganondorf shows up and he starts fucking shit up after he takes Sonia's secret stone. They try to stop him. They're not powerful enough to stop him, so Rauru seals him away instead. That's essentially the story. There isn't really character development along the way. Like, one could argue that, like, Rauru was a little bit down on himself in this game, and, you know, Zelda's words that reflected Sonia's words inspired him to keep on going. Ooh, you know, like, it's a pretty just typical bare bones minimum kind of thing that you would expect. So, there was definitely nothing about the story of Tears of the Kingdom's past that got me intrigued about, like, a standalone game here. So I'm glad that this game at least had Calamo and the Knight Contract to, you know, keep me a little bit engaged, because if you removed that from the plot, this plot would be, like, literally the most boring thing ever. Even as is, it's pretty boring. So, I was hoping that, considering in Age of Calamity it felt like we were actually moving a plot forward, I was hoping that this game would feel like that as well. It does not, really. So Zelda shows up to the past. This game assumes that you've already played Tears of the Kingdom. Right at the beginning, it's like, oh, and by the way, like, Minoru told Zelda about, like, the thing that happens if you eat a sacred stone, which, you know, really feels like a out-of-nowhere kind of rule that was invented just to have Zelda come back to the present, and just to have, like, a boss fight against Dragon Ganondorf. Like, that. Let's face it, that's the only reason that plot point exists. If you ingest a sacred stone, you'll turn into a sacred dragon, or whatever the heck. So, this game assumes that you've already played Tears of the Kingdom. Zelda shows up there, it skips a lot of the flashback stuff rather than, like, exploring that further in a way that might make it more intriguing, might make me care more about the story of Tears of the Kingdom. And it just says things like, oh, by the way, this is the part of the story where Minoru tells Zelda about, like, ingesting a sacred stone, turning you into a sacred dragon and all that. So if you play this game standalone, you're gonna be so friggin' confused. I'm surprised that it didn't actually show, you know, that sequence at the end of the game there. Or, like, Zelda receiving the Master Sword. I think after the Knight Construct fell, after summoning, like, the ghostly Master Sword, I think I saw on the ground, like, the shattered, full, like, Master Sword proper. I think. I'm gonna have to rewatch it, but I'm pretty sure it was there, so I guess she got it from there. But, you know. So, the actual main plot of this game is, like, she gets to the past, stuff with a whole bunch of flashbacks happens, and the game just tells you that they happened. Ganondorf shows up, and he starts messing stuff up. He gets the secret stone, whatever the heck. I keep on thinking sacred stones. And he summons an army around the world to go mess stuff up. And then, for most of the game, you just go around defeating his army. And I guess you get allies along the way, but I would feel like I'm making more progress if the main goal of the plotline was amass enough allies, unite all the nations around the world, and then launch a strike on Ganondorf. But it didn't really feel like that was the goal. The goal felt like it was always, go defeat Ganondorf's forces and we'll eventually defeat him. With the point at which we defeat him being at the point where it's like, okay, we've defeated enough of his forces, I guess. Let's go after him now. Like, in terms of the chapters here, Chapter 1 would have been, kind of, like, setting the stage with, like, Zelda and Rauru and Minoru and stuff there. Then, Growing Suspicion, Striking North. This is where, like, Ganondorf's dudos come on out there. Refugees being hounded, they quickly descend to the surface to intervene. So, like, Ganondorf comes out, he does, like, his stuff. And, we go take refuge in the temple. And then, how many chapters do we have of just facing Ganondorf's army? Like, I guess the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14. 14 chapters, and then we go after Ganondorf. So, you know, that's like, I'm pretty sure that's over half the game, is what it looks like by the amount of chapters here. Yeah, sure, looks that way to me. Maybe pretty close to half, a bit over half. So, I had, like, no sense of progress in terms of, like, how close we're getting to the end. Like, if we just had, like, an actual goal that we could quantify, like, unite all the nations and, amass our armies together and then go after Ganondorf. Or, like, Ganondorf has, like, these exact strongholds. When they fall, that'll greatly weaken him, and then we go after him. Like, some level of a story goal to really ground us. But when our goal is just defeat Ganondorf, and we have zero sense of progression for how close we are, then it makes the entire thing just feel like it's a waste of time, because each mission that you do makes you feel like, huh, did we get any closer to our goal? Like, that's something that I feel like is really important in storytelling in general, is to have a goal that you are, like, making it towards. Or maybe something happens and it sets you back in terms of your progress. And now it's like, oh crap, this is a really low point for our heroes, you know, but you feel it because it's all based around, like, your sense of progression towards the goal. But here we have a goal that is not quantified. It's just, it's something that we're gonna go and do when the game decides you've done enough other bullshit to warrant doing it. It's what it is. So, you know, it just feels like padding the game. And I had no idea what we were doing so much of the time. Like, when we went into the depths there, for example, you know, that was kind of cool where we do, like, the flying segment and we go down into the depths and we strike at this one stronghold. But I'm asking myself the whole time, like, what are we doing here? Like, is Ganondorf's base down there? Like it kind of is in, Tears of the Kingdom, since, like, he's down there in the depths and all that. Are we going there and that's gonna have us reach Ganondorf? Nope. It's just another generic, go defeat Ganondorf's forces. And then that's done. And then we go right back up to the surface. So, I thought that we were approaching the end as of this, because, like, holy crap, we executed this crazy plan to, like, distract his main force on the surface while we really launch our main strike on the depths. And then we immediately leave it and go back up to the surface like this shit never even happened. Well, my internet went down. It's been a while since that happened, and considering Shaw was here earlier today to, like, look into things, I have a feeling that something that they did might have messed something up. So all the internet was down. I just started grinding in Ever Crisis meanwhile, because that's another playthrough that I have to finish here. So I guess I can close that now. Just wanted to be a little bit productive while I was waiting for the interwebs to come back up. Oh yeah, and it does that whenever the stream comes up. So what I was just saying before the internet went down was the characters. So here, let's just look at the character list like this way. So here's the cast of this game. These are like the only 3 that are semi-important from Tears of the Kingdom. These 4 we knew about from Tears of the Kingdom, but, you know, they weren't really that important per se. They were just kind of there. These 2 are original to this game, but, like, actually important to this story. And the other, over half, are just some guys. And even, like, the 4 sages here kind of feel like some guys. That's what it really feels like. So, essentially, what you've got is, like, 3 Tears of the Kingdom characters, 4 characters that were some guys that fill the role in this story of being some guys, 2 original characters that are important, and a whole team of people. Original characters that don't really matter at all, except for Brandon. We love Brandon around here. But what I was starting to talk about before the stream went down was Zelda. So, this game makes you think that, like, Zelda's gonna be the main character. I'm pretty sure she's that, like, first and foremost on the box cover of the game. And outside of something like Echoes of Wisdom, it makes you think that this is a Zelda game where Zelda's gonna be the main character for, you know, for once here. Oh yeah, outside of, like, Echoes of Wisdom. But what's really, really pathetic, honestly, is the fact that you can remove Zelda from this story, and it changes nothing. Like, ask, in what way is Zelda essential to this plot? Like, Age of Imprisonment, standalone, not Tears of the Kingdom. She's essential in terms of, like, becoming a dragon and restoring the Master Sword and meeting up with Link again in the present, and as we kind of see at the end of this story. Outside of that, for Tears of the Kingdom, just Age of Imprisonment on its own as a standalone experience, in what way is she essential to this plot? She tells Rauru Link's name and about the swordsman from her time, so he knows a little bit about the construct here, I guess. She tells him some words from Sonia that help inspire him, but you don't really need Zelda for that. Like, it could have absolutely been Minoru that does that, and then Rauru could still have the same line of like, huh, you're right, both of you. You know, it really changes nothing. Literally the only thing that Zelda contributes to this plot is just telling Rauru that Link exists. That's it. There is no way in which she is actually essential to the plot. You can even cut her out from that final encounter with Ganondorf and it changes nothing. Like, I guess the one part in which she and these four are essential is that these four threw their weapons and she used Rewind to distract Ganondorf. But, like, again, that's something that you could easily substitute some other way. Like, Minoru uses her big, like, owl head looking bot to do, like, some sort of distraction, and then Rauru gets a jump on him and then grabs Ganondorf's chest. You know, they're all removable. The only characters you actually need for this story are Rauru, Calamo, and the Knight Construct, I guess, with the way that this branch compared to Tears of the Kingdom. And maybe? Strong maybe for Minoru, I guess. And that's really all you need. And the rest of the cast are just people that kind of exist in this world, but don't influence it in any way. So, you know, the cast is probably one of, if not the most lackluster cast I've seen in a video game that, you know, a video game that actually has, like, a proper story. So I'm not going to count things like Roller Coaster Tycoon or Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D that technically has a story, you know, like, obviously not stuff like that. In terms of games that actually try to have a form of story, this might be the most lackluster cast I might have ever seen. It's definitely up there, at least. Just because you don't need, like, 99% of them. Like, that's 95, but you know what I mean. They're just so unessential. They just do nothing in the plot. And, like, even Rauru doesn't really have character development outside of, like, oh man, Ganondorf is messing stuff up. Ugh, he killed my wife. That sucks. You know what? You're right. You said these words that said that I should stay strong. You're right. I should. And that's the character development. Characters like Zelda tell him that he should stay strong. And he's like, you know what? You're right. That's as far as it goes. You know, we were talking about Fire Emblem Three Houses earlier this stream. There's no, it's not like a Dimitri situation where it's like, no, he doesn't want to, you know, have this character development and be saved. And, you know, it's actually a long journey to seeing that. It's just kind of like, he's told, hey, stay strong for your people and your troops and all that. And he's like, okay. Like, you know, so in terms of the main plot line that we knew about in Tears of the Kingdom, it's a absolute nothing burger. And it's so dumb at so many twists and turns too. Like, like, with the whole luring Ganondorf to the point where we were gonna, like, have the final confrontation with him, where the plan was try to defeat him at the castle, but if we can't do that, then lure him to the point. But they tried to do one strike against him. The Knight Construct tried to slash at him once. He blocked it. And then Rauru's like, we have no hope of victory, fall back. And it's like, oh my god, really? You're not going to try to sell it a little bit more? You're not even going to attempt to defeat him there? Like, maybe you have, like, a battle against Ganondorf there, but, you know, it's kind of like a scripted loss. He's just super powered up there or something like that. You know, that would have been kind of cool. Like, this game does a lot of telling rather than showing in that sense, and, you know, a lot of kind of jumping to, alright, this thing happens, even though we haven't really seen proof that that thing needs to happen next, is what it kind of felt like to me. So yeah, this game that seemed like Zelda was going to be your main character, you can remove her, nothing changes. Honestly, it really felt like the Knight Construct and Calamo were our main characters, whereas Rauru was just kind of like the head of the army there, and guy that needed to seal away Ganondorf so that he can do stuff during the events of Tears of the Kingdom. So, like, this was a plot that was undergoing. But we didn't really have much in the way of character development here either. Like, I guess there's Calmo that kind of learned that, hey, you know, we should be helping people here sometimes, and he does realize that it's the right thing. And, you know, generally in terms of the Knight Construct and Calmo, I like them. I like them. Might be the only two characters in this entire game that, like, I actually like, just because everyone else is literally pointless. But them I liked, and, you know, I thought it was a little bit cute where it's like at the end he's saying, like, oh yeah, I'm putting down roots right here, like, right where you sacrificed everything. I don't know if I could do that. And, you know, that kind of thing where it's like, okay, you know, that's kind of cute. You know, I can dig that. I really wish it felt like the other characters actually had some impact in the story, like Calamo did here. It's really funny that in Tears of the Kingdom, it establishes that there's all these characters that exist, but none of them have anywhere near as much impact on the story. None of them really have any quantifiable impact on the overall story and events. Meanwhile, a completely original character that we never heard about in Tears of the Kingdom does. So, you know, it's a little bit of a sucker punch kind of surprise there, where it's like, hey, you know, that's kind of cool, but I wish these guys actually did something too. You know, I liked Calamo and the Knight Construct. The whole excuse where it's like it's a shard to the Master Sword. It's like, okay, sure, I can get behind that. Sure enough. The whole rivalry between, like, the Knight Construct and the Dark Construct, whatever the hell it was called, felt a little bit out of left field, and it kind of felt like the whole you could eat a sacred stone to turn into a dragon kind of pulled out of your ass plot point, is what it kind of felt like. Just because it's like, okay, well, I guess there's these Zonai device, like, construct thingamabobs that are just so much more powerful compared to, I guess, all the other constructs that are down there in the depths. And I guess there's only these two, or maybe there's more that are sealed away. And you'd think that if Ganondorf, like, saw that the one that he imbued some magical power into was so freaking strong that it served as our real final boss, that, you know, maybe he would have tried to get some more of those instead of just waking up one. But maybe the others are hard to reach. I don't know. The game is just kind of like, yep, there just so happens to be two of these specific constructs from, like, the ancient past of the Zonai age and all that. It really makes you wonder how long the Zelda timeline is in terms of years. To be able to have this conflict there. And I mean, a way that the conflict could feel a little bit more natural is if Ganondorf had been like, this construct has a lot of potential. It gets, like, the biggest piece of my magical energy that I'm sharing it with. Like, it will have a power that's near comparable to mine, or something like that. Something that really hypes it up as something, like, a little bit more serious. Like, we got to see that it got to do a lot of damage and all that, but Ganondorf didn't really make it out to seem like it was anything all that more extra special, so I wasn't really expecting it to be the true final boss, essentially. It was just kind of a machine that he put his, like, negative energy, like, evil stuff into. Like he's done with so many other constructs, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember exactly. Like, there was definitely bad constructs that we were fighting throughout the plot there, so... You know, I guess those ones were just kind of wimpy, but that one specifically was super powered up. So I wish it was given a specific reason why that one was just, like, super uber powerful, when he had done, like, the exact same thing for countless other constructs, and they weren't super powerful. Like, I guess it's just the thing that, like, Rauru and Minoru would have said, where it's like, oh, these specific constructs caused ruin for our people long ago. Why these specific constructs and not, like, the stupid cube ones or the other robots? Why these specific humanoid ones? Why are they powered up? Because, you know, I could get behind, like, maybe this one is powered up because it has the Master Sword shard. But then you also got to give me an equivalent reason why the evil one is powered up. Like, even just some remark by Ganondorf that's like, this one gets the most of my evil energy or something like that. I don't know. And then when it comes to Ganondorf and the whole nothing burger of a plot here, something that I was really kind of hoping for from this game is like, oh, look, a game where we're actually experiencing the events in the past of Tears of the Kingdom. We're gonna, like, finally get to, like, experience a plot start to finish with, like, a strong presence of Matt Mersendorf. That was one of the aspects of this game that I was kind of excited for. He's kind of there in the beginning of the game to show that, like, he's getting ready to do evil things and get the secret stone and power up that one construct. And then he's just kind of gone for pretty much the rest of the plot until the end when we start getting ready to go after him. He doesn't have a presence in this story. He's just kind of in the back of your mind as like, he's the one responsible for all this stuff that's going on. But we never really see him all that much. He doesn't have a presence in this story. We don't really have a sense of like what it is he's trying to achieve. Like, I guess just conquering everything. It'd be cool if there was like some reason given for that. Like, that's a complaint that you can make about a lot of Zelda games technically. But I was kind of hoping that we'd be able to see like this personable? That's probably not the right word there. But really get to understand this Ganondorf to like a better extent than a lot of other Zelda games. Because a lot of other Zelda games, it's a similar thing where it's like maybe you see him in the beginning, maybe you don't. He's your big bad kind of at the end there in a lot of these cases. Like, some games he'll have a little bit more presence in, like the Wind Waker, for example. That's a good example of a Zelda game where, like, he's actively doing things and screwing with you and being, like, an active, like, evil presence in the plot. What other games here? Twilight Princess, you kind of hear about him throughout, but, mostly see him properly for the first time towards the end. Skyward Sword, Girahim is mainly the one that you see throughout the plot, and then Demise just kind of shows up at the end. Ocarina of Time is one where you kind of see him in the beginning, and, you see, like, the outcome of his actions and are working to stop that and, like, have a big confrontation at the end, That kind of stuff is fine, I guess, but if you're doing a game where, the whole gist was the war with Ganondorf, that's the whole premise of this game, that's what we're buying this game to come and experience, is the war with Ganondorf, and we barely see Ganondorf, then I honestly think that's a little bit of a ripoff. So, Ganondorf doesn't really have a presence in this plot. And as I was talking about earlier in this stream, in terms of realism to me in video games doesn't mean like it needs to be real world realistic, but rather it means like you set a set of rules and you stay consistent with that. Like, for example, take the inheritance cycle of books. Like, I know I'm going out of the realm of video games here, but it's just one of the best examples that I can draw on, is that, you can do whatever rules you want for your plot, but keep it consistent so that it feels realistic in that kind of sense. Like, you can get behind it. You understand how these things work. So, the inheritance cycle is my favorite series of books, and that series of books has a magic system where if you cast magic, you use, like, the elvish tongue that always speaks truths, and say, like, oh, this object is going to float, and because that's a truth, like, the object floats. But it immediately takes energy out of you equivalent to the amount of real energy it would have taken to lift that. So if I say, this thing floats now, then it would feel as if I did the effort to actually make it float. So, people in that world would, like, train up for being able to do better stuff with magic. They would rely on dragons that have a whole lot more power. They would store stuff up in like gemstones for later, so it's like you expend a bunch of your energy a day and put it in a gemstone like a battery, then you have like a bunch of magic to unleash on the fly. Like, it's a system of rules, so you can get behind that and understand that as the audience and be like, okay, that's what's going on here. Oh, he needs to do this this big strike in this moment, so he uses his magic battery that he's been like investing into for so long. It's a system of rules. So make a system of rules and stay consistent with it. I have no idea what the fuck the rule system is here in this game, namely when it comes to Ganondorf's power. Like, I don't care about there being like an exact rule system for things like, the rewind being able to work, that kind of exact magic or anything like that. I mean, a lot of Zelda games have a rule system in that you have, like, your magic bar or something like that. When you run out, you can't cast anymore, stuff like that. That isn't really that important to the story. But in terms of, like, really story-important stuff, like, Ganondorf gets a secret stone, and he's just able to, like, summon an army. His army falls, he can just re-summon them. His dead generals, he re-summons them. Okay, what's the rule system? Does it take, like, a decent amount of, like, his energy? Does it wear him out? Is there a limit? Is there a cap? Is it based around, like, his own strength? Like, is there a certain point at which he's just too exhausted and he can't revive his generals anymore? Or what is it? It doesn't establish that, but it seems to imply that he can just revive his army as much as he wants. He wants monsters around him, they're there. He doesn't look exhausted or anything. Doesn't look like he's you know, any worse for wear because he did that. It doesn't seem like it's taking any toll. It seems like the cost is essentially free. And so that begs the question of what the hell the purpose of the plot was to go around and diminish his army when he can just be like, oh, my army's gone. My army's back. Great. You go around the world defeating these 4, like, freaking archfiends or whatever the heck. That could have even been the goal, is like defeat the 4 archfiends because they're tied to his power in some way. And by defeating the 4 archfiends, it'll weaken Ganondorf enough that we can go take him on. Something. Come up with some set of rules that I can understand as the audience to be like, oh, that's why we're doing what we're doing. But the game doesn't have anything like that. And so we go around defeating the archfiends, and it really makes you beg the question of why, when there's zero consequence to it, when he just summons them back again anyway. So that also is kind of like a big fuck you to like your actions up to that point, by making it seem like it was pointless, when he can just revive them, and he can revive like the rest of his army, or summon like new monsters for his army. So what the hell is the point of going around defeating his guys if he can just resummon them seemingly for free? So if you did like some sort of a rule system like the inheritance cycle, where it's like the thing that you're doing takes like an equivalent amount of like your real energy or something like that, and you can just say that like the secret stone is like a battery that has a whole bunch of energy, but it only has so much, or it needs to recharge, so he can only do so much of it at a time. So it is still worthwhile to take out his generals, because then if he revives them for the final battle, then like his secret stone is like low on juice or something like that. Have some sort of rule system that I can understand as the audience here, because as is, the rules of this plot are whatever they need to be in any given moment. Trust me, bro. It's just, this is the way that things are happening. Why is this the way that things are happening? You don't need to know. Just watch the story, enjoy it, eat our slop. That's what the plot of this game is. So, you know, what a massive waste of time this plot was here. So disappointing on so many fronts. And, you know, again, I wouldn't have exactly been like super hyped to experience the prequel story of Tears of the Kingdom. My expectations were kind of low, but oh boy, this plot just genuinely did nothing. Like, I'm sure that there are those that pick up this game for the plot that just, I don't know, really love Tears of the Kingdom story and wanted to see exactly what happened before for some reason. I wouldn't know why, but, you know, I'm sure that there's some people like that, but, you know, it was really, really sloppily done. This has definitely got to be one of the worst stories I've seen in a long time among games that actually tried to have a story, you know. Again, put a little asterisk there. Definitely not the worst I've ever seen. I could always talk about things like Detective Pikachu Returns. My god, that plot. But this is up there. Like, it tries to be generally like a good, enjoyable plot. The good guys go and beat the bad guys. There's a big epic confrontation at the end. But when you actually take time to unpack the story, it's just a big nothing burger with like ununderstandable stakes and characters that have like zero effect on the story itself. And it just makes you question what the hell the point of any of it even is. So, that's my review of the story. Like, it's not like it was all bad. I could get behind like some of the stuff with Calamo and the Night Construct, but, you know, kind of some cute stuff going on there. But that's it, really. I think that's literally the only positive thing I have to say about the story. This is, what a fumble, let me tell you. What next to talk about here? How about, like, graphics and cutscenes and stuff? That was good. That was pretty good. This game is running at, like, 60 FPS. Pretty solid. There's definitely some spikes where it would lag here and there. But, you know, I've always thought that Koei Tecmo has been very impressive at being able to get these kinds of games working on the limited hardware. So, you know, I'm not going to complain too much about, like, the occasional lag spikes. I do understand that there's a lot going on there. The cutscenes gave me the impression that they were all pre-rendered. I mean, if that's the way that you want to go, then fine. Whatever. Pre-render your cutscenes. The cutscene quality was generally pretty good. I enjoyed some of the battles there. I do wish that some of the ones went on a little bit longer, like, you know, when we first ran into Ganondorf and Raru's like, we have no means of victory here, we must escape. Like, it would have been cool if we had, like, an actual battle. I would have liked to see, like, more actual battle cutscenes, but, like, cutscenes are high quality, like, the characters are charming, I like the art style with these games, and, you know, the graphics I thought were pretty fine for the most part. I feel like a lot of the areas of the world, despite them being different regions, did feel kind of samey outside of, like, this is the snow area, this is the desert area. Outside of that, they all felt kind of the same and didn't really feel too unique. I don't know. I never really felt that with the previous games in the era of Wilds. Maybe I'm just so drained on, like, Nintendo Warriors that I'm feeling that at this point. So, who knows? Yeah, I guess that's what there is to mention about the graphics and stuff. I mean, I could talk about the flashing lights and stuff that kind of plays into gameplay there. The music. Age of Calamity, I think, is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Zelda soundtrack ever. It's really, really good, and it even has, like, a main leitmotif that's used throughout the plot in all sorts of different interesting ways, and it's, like, combined into different themes throughout the game. Like, that iconic theme that you hear every time you load into the world map, where it's like, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. Like, that leitmotif from Age of Calamity. I still remember it to this day. Like, it's really quite iconic. You hear it throughout the game. It's used in, like, calm ways, it's used in sad ways, it's used in super epic ways, it's used in reflective ways. They use that tune all over the place, and it's friggin' awesome. This game either didn't have that or I didn't notice it, because it didn't really have much of a presence. So I was kind of really hoping that there would be, like, a main theme to Age of Imprisonment, kind of like Age of Calamity had, that you get behind as you hear it used in different ways throughout the plot. Didn't have that, so, you know, kind of sucked there. There was definitely some use of leitmotifs, like some themes that we've heard from the Zelda series, or Tears of the Kingdom specifically, especially towards the end there. So, you know, they did use some leitmotifs from other games, but this game didn't really have a specific musical theme that really gave it an identity like Age of Calamity did with its iconic theme that existed throughout the course of the story. So, that was a little bit disappointing on this front that they didn't do that for, like, the immediate next game. I couldn't hear the music most of the time because the other sounds were just overpowering it, because I swear in the gaming industry so much of the time it feels like nobody knows how to mix their fucking audio. That is a problem with a lot of video games. It's not a problem with this game specifically, but makes me wonder, why the heck is that? Like, just playtest and level out audio until it sounds like things are good. I couldn't hear the music so much of the time, so I had to pump it up, and even after pumping it up to max, I still couldn't hear the freaking music. So I had to turn the other things down, and that's probably what led to some of my complaints about me feeling like sound effects were missing during some of the later cutscenes there. Probably just because I turned it down to like half, because I literally can't hear the music in gameplay otherwise. So, audio leveling of this game is pretty shit. It's not the worst I've ever seen. Well, I've seen some pretty bad examples, like the Wii U original Xenoblade Chronicles X was pretty bad, where you literally couldn't hear people over the music during the cutscenes of that game so much of the time. It was better in Definitive Edition. They fixed it a little bit. It still could be better, though. But yeah, the audio leveling of this game was really bad, so the fact that I had to max out the music and turn other things down just to be able to hear the music, like, come on, guys. And then that caused other problems in the cutscenes where I didn't really hear the sound effects all that much anymore. It's like, man, can't it just be leveled to a nice amount where I can hear all things clearly? So, you know, maybe I should have turned down the music for cutscenes and turned up the sound effects and then done vice versa for gameplay, but I shouldn't have to do this back and forth just for things to be clearly audible. Age of Calamity's amazing soundtrack, even outside of the leitmotifs, it had some really friggin' amazing battle themes that really stuck with me as like a, holy shit, this might be like one of my new favorite just epic battle themes. Like, I'm trying to come up with ones off the top of my head here, but I'm blanking a little bit. But I know what they sound like. Hello, hello, Dog Daytona. I hope things are going well tonight. So there was a lot of really, really strong themes in Age of Calamity that I still listen to this day. Like, they are like really, really quite epic themes. I love having them in like my stream playlist for doing epic battle kind of stuff. This game, I didn't really feel that as much. Like, again, it was only towards the end where I had the volume adjusted to a certain amount that I could actually hear the music in the first place, so maybe there was some better music earlier in the game, but, you know, I'm gonna have to take some of my own time to re-listen to it to see if that's even the case. So I definitely heard some better themes coming on towards the end, but nothing that quite hit as hard as such of the themes I remember from Age of Calamity. Waiting to hear if I hear a snap trap go off. I don't even know what a snap trap is, but, you know, I wish you the best of luck with that. My first interpretation would be like mousetrap or something. Okay, yeah, it's mousetrap. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, what was I just talking about? Music there. So towards the end, there were definitely times where the music did start to pick up, and I was like, ooh, this is pretty good. I do want to take time to listen to this on my own time. But the thing is, you can't hear the main soundtrack, the main battle themes, a lot of the time in this game. It doesn't really have its time to let it really sink in and let you appreciate it because of the adaptive music. I'm usually a big fan of adaptive music in games. I think that's really quite cool when you can make music naturally feel like it's proceeding in an interesting way based around the way that you're playing the game. But the thing is, it would do like this like more intense version or a completely different tune. Basically, anytime you capitalize on enemy's weakness, you put down like a Zonai device to do like some extra damage to them, or you broke their weak point gauge. And maybe some other situations, but at least those three, it seemed like it was going on. Maybe sometimes it would be not for the Zonai devices, but if the Zonai device counted as, like, exploiting a weakness or something, it always would. So, even if the soundtrack was getting really good, you'd only be able to hear in, like, 20-second spans before it does this more sporadic, spontaneous kind of theme. And you just end up hearing that same little tune over and over and over again. And I think Lancer put it like really aptly, where it felt like one of those NES games with like a very basic tune that's just looping over and over and over again, because that's what you hear most of the time in this game. Like, you get to hear for a little span like the music that's like, okay, this is actually pretty good, and then you're constantly like exploiting weaknesses and breaking weak point gauges and stuff, and then you just hear like this same loop over and over and over and over again. Find adaptive music needs to do adaptive volume thing too? Like, adjusting the volume there, I presume? Maybe. I didn't really find the volume to be an issue with the adaptive music specifically, just the music in general with this game. So yeah, adaptive music can be really, really cool when done well, but it seems like they were really interested in doing adaptive music for this game, and in the process got kind of lost in the sauce and didn't realize that it just made it, like, really quite annoying and took away the ability to really enjoy the actual good parts of the soundtrack. So I'm gonna need to take time on my own time to like listen to the soundtrack, because you can't really take time to appreciate it by playing the game itself, because it's constantly being interrupted. So the music of this game, I would definitely count as a bit of a con as well. I think that there's some good stuff under the surface, but across the audio leveling and the adaptive music, it's done in such a way where you just can't enjoy it. So I thought that was pretty decently bad. And then the gameplay, how about? Because I think I said what I needed to say about the music. Finally, the gameplay here, it was more Nintendo Warriors stuff. Like, you've played the other games, you kind of know what you're getting into here. The animations and all that kind of plays into graphics. All good, satisfying. Like, it still feels good to mow down a whole bunch of enemies and stuff. Like, based on what is going on, either going up in the volume in the intense moments and have it toned down during the calm parts, but allowing it to play, though, and basically have it so if there's a repeating sound like a weak point hit, tone that down as you have it hit more and more. I think that would be even more distracting. Like, the more I break a weak point, like, the quieter the music gets. I don't know if I'd like that. And, I mean, you already have, like, highs and lows naturally in a soundtrack. I don't know if you need to adapt it based on what's going on. I mean, I guess there's already, like, it lowers it a little bit if you're running across the battlefield and raises it up if you're fighting someone. Probably the weak point hit sound is. Oh, I'm talking about the soundtrack. I'm not talking about the sound effects. This is what I was talking about there. Also, where was I at here? Yeah, with the gameplay, if you played one of the other games, you kind of played them all. You know what you're getting into here. Hit Y so many times and then hit X to do different combos, essentially. And that's kind of as far as it went with the original Hyrule Warriors. Age of Calamity, I kind of liked how it increased the complexity by giving each character a ZR attack as well. That was kind of separate from your combos, but would do like something unique. So I had a little bit more depth to play around with some of the unique character stuff in Age of Calamity. Like, for example, hitting ZR with Link and having him do, like, especially if you're holding back, he would do a backflip, pull out the bow, and then you could force a weak point gauge and then be, like, chaining into things. So it felt like there was some more complex stuff that you could do. But this game took away it sort of has unique character skills in a different way. You're still mostly doing, like, Y and X, and instead of having, like, an additional move that you can do as ZR, it's just you can assign it with, like, whatever thing along with the face buttons for different Zonai devices. Part of me kind of wishes that you would assign it to like R1 or something, like you hold L and you hit R1 and you'd use the Zonai device, and ZR is still like something unique to your character, and some characters would have unique things that you could assign in addition to the Zonai devices, and that was kind of cool. It seemed kind of weird that Zelda was the only one in the entire game that could reflect objects back at enemies. Like, maybe I'm missing something, maybe other guys would get that if I actually sunk my teeth more into this game, but at face value, it seemed kind of weird how she was the only character that could do that. So I really liked being able to press like an additional button to have some more depth of the Age of Calamity, but I didn't really have that in this game, because it was less so, when's the right time to use this move, like deciding myself. Instead, it was just, oh, the enemy's vulnerable to this at this point. This is the time to use this, in terms of like the countering things. And even the Zonai devices are that to an extent, where it's like, okay, well, here's an opening there, I guess I'll just put down a thing. You know, countering enemies' moves was kind of satisfying there, but, you know, not quite as fun as doing something like, you know, Link's bow or something like that in Age of Calamity, where I'm kind of more so deciding this is the right time to use it, instead of the game telling me, hey, the boss is doing this, it's time for you to use this. You know, it is kind of what I felt like, at least. So I ended up not really using the bumpers that much, because it didn't really feel like a move that I could just pop off without any consequence. It was like, when's the right time to use my limited battery here and use one of these things, or start the super long recharge cycle of like one of my character abilities that took a long time to build up. I don't know if that was just a very hard thing, or that's just the game in general, but it would take a long time to build that up. And so yeah, wouldn't have minded you know, having something more like Age of Calamity, where I have some more moves and things that I can do there. So I kind of prefer the gameplay a little bit in Age of Calamity, but, you know, generally speaking, it was fine. Except the actual content of what you were doing, I found to be really repetitive. And, you know, that kind of goes without saying to an extent in these kinds of games already. But in things, I don't remember exactly how it was in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, since this is a few years ago. But I do remember that there was, like, some battles with, like, actual characters that you would recruit from time to time. Like, I remember that you battled against Revali before you recruited him in that game. And I know for sure in the original Hyrule Warriors, since I'd put a shit ton of hours into that, there was all sorts of different mission types. You had big bosses, you had, like, other playable characters that you would face against, and they would be using the movesets that you're used to when you're playing them against you, or, you know, maybe you see the boss using it, and then you unlock them as a playable character, like, say, Girahim or something like that, I don't know. Where a lot of the foes that you're facing are, you know, other playable characters and use that same moveset and are about the same size as you. And a lot of the little mini-bosses that you would take on, the little generals along the way, would be a similar size to you, like the Dark Nuts or something like that. I mean, this game had some smaller foes that you would take on as well, like the Lizalfos or the, you know, the slightly bigger Bokoblins. But it never really felt like it was important to take them down. And in terms of fighting guys around your size, that only really happened with, like, the evil construct as far as I can remember here. And the entire rest of the game was just going around facing the big bosses of, like, Moblins, Big Boss Bokoblins, Hinox, and, like, Stalnox, which is under that same label there. The Talus, and occasionally the constructs. Not all that much, though. It was mainly those four. So you're going around defeating Moblins, Boss Bokoblins, Hinox, and Talus over and over and over again. And it felt like every single mission was just go around, defeat those types of enemies and their variants over and over. Oh, I guess sometimes there would be things like likes to mix it up, but not very often. And I really wish that I had more of the smaller guys to deal with that were mandatory. Like, again, there were some of them around the map, but they weren't mandatory, nor were they important in any way to take down. Like, in the original Hyrule Warriors, the battlefield was actually something quite important, with turning keeps to your color, blue, taking them away from red being the enemies, and being able to, like, spawn some guys. Like, let's say there's these two Dark Nuts that are making their way towards your home keep. If they get there, chances are your home keep is not going to defend itself. Enough time passes, it's going to fall, you're going to lose because you didn't defend your home keep. And so, it's important to either go and defeat those Dark Nuts before that happens, intercept them, maybe order one of your other allies to go and intercept them while you're going and doing another thing, at least in the later versions of the original Hyrule Warriors, since you couldn't do that in the original Wii U release. I think maybe you could order around, but you could only play as one character, but, you would actually have to, like, strategize there a little bit. Or maybe you actually capture some more enemy keeps along the way, turning them from red to blue, and turn them into places that will slow down enemy generals when they spawn. So, like, you've reached towards the end of a mission, this one condition has now procced, and now these Dark Nuts have spawned, and they're on their way to, like, your home base. If there's just a whole bunch of red forts on the way, they're just going to march right through, and they're going to get to your home base, and then you don't have as much time. But by getting these forts, by turning them to blue, it gives you more of a buffer, because while they'll probably win and take those forts as well, it'll take them a little while. They won't do it immediately. So it actually creates, like, a little bit of a shield. You're putting up more protection over yourself by capturing these keeps, as they were called in the original Hyrule Warriors. But in this game with your outposts, the lost condition is pretty much just that you die. And sometimes there are some missions where it's like you need to protect, like, someone in particular. But it's never like you really have, like, a home base or a keep to defend. So the whole needing to, like, strategize among, like, the battlefield for, like, what places you're going to capture just was kind of non-existent in this game. Like, unless the game made it mandatory for, like, being able to progress. Like, this outpost has a gate closed. I need to capture it so the gate opens and I can progress. Outside of that, there was just genuinely no reason to, like, be capturing outposts. So when I think about the original Hyrule Warriors, while it was simplistic in a lot of ways, and I wish it had a lot more depth, at least I would look at the map and kind of decide, what is my course of action here? How am I going to tackle this mission? What way am I going to go? What things are probably important to capture? I actually needed to think. This game is just, don't worry about it. The battlefield only serves as the place where you're fighting, not like a strategic thing that you need to keep in mind with, like, its shape and its routes and all that. It's just go across the battlefield, do the objectives. When again, the objectives are just the same things of Big Boss Bokoblins, Hinoxes, Taluses, and Moblins over and over and over again. And I got really... Oh, and I guess occasionally Lionels, I forgot about that. But I feel like those four especially were the ones that I kept on seeing over and over and over again. And I started getting really, really tired of them, especially when coupled with other issues like I outlined when I was talking about the story, where it feels like we're not moving the story forward. I'm just going around defeating these types of enemies over and over and over again, and for what? So the gameplay, even though it had like some other interesting things that it was playing around with, like the Zonai devices and the battery and stuff like that, I couldn't really use those in an interesting way like I would have been used to in, say, the first Hyrule Warriors game, where I actually needed to look at the map and strategize how I handle this map. This game is just go do the objectives. That's it. Defeat the enemies. There's no real perk to capturing outposts as far as I can tell. Like, who cares if you capture it and it spawns guys for your group? Or, it didn't feel important ever. So, there was that. This game was really, really flashy. Like, I know that the other Nintendo Warriors games were very, stuff is happening rapidly. There's always stuff going on. But this game, it felt like was especially the case. Especially with, like, putting down a Zonai device that's doing rapid hits like that. And you're doing hits on the enemy as well, like, and every single one of those is causing the enemy to flash white. And, again, I've been feeling with some other games too recently, so maybe it's not exclusive to this. But this is the game that started making me feel, like, kind of shitty about some flashing lights in video games recently. So, that would get really, really straining on the eyes, and I could only play it for, like, so long in a session. This has been a kind of a longer session. I've gone for 5.5 hours here. But, I was kind of on the verge of seeing it through, but it was giving me a little bit of a light headache, and my eyes do have that, like, slight soreness throbbing feel at the end of this session here. Like, it's a bit much. A bit much on the, little, hit icon visual indicator that you successfully hit. Like, it could have absolutely been toned down a little bit. In terms of some other positives of gameplay, I thought it was neat at first when it seemed like each character only has, like, one weapon. In Age of Calamity, I never wanted to invest into any weapons because I figured, like, oh, if, say, this weapon at level 1 is 15 power, and I start investing into it, but this other weapon that I get at level 1 is like 20 power, then of course that one's going to be the better one, and maybe it was semi-wasted that I invested into that one that was 15 power at level 1. I'm pretty sure you could use that weapon as material to go into the other weapon, so it wouldn't be completely wasted. But there was no indication of, like, their relative strength. So if this thing was 15 power at level 1, and now it's, say, like, 30-something power at level 6, and you just got something that's 20 power at level 1, unless you memorized it or you look it up or something, you have no indication of what that weapon was at level 1 anymore after you've upped it. So if I'm looking at this new weapon that I got, which is like 20 power at level 1, I have to ask or do like a whole bunch of research. Is this better than my current weapon? Or if I put in enough effort to bring it up to the same level as my current weapon, would it be better? I don't remember. Like, there was kind of a lack of information there. It was kind of shitty. And so I kind of liked this approach, where it's just like, hey, you have one weapon. You can continue to make it better. You can continue to unlock slots and customize it in different ways. Great. Like, I guess the one downside is that, you know, you can't switch to something else with different perks for different builds as easily. But, you know, I think the trade-off is more worth it in that I can just invest and get stronger instead of having to guess, what the heck is the relative power of this again? Is it worth it to be switching over to this other weapon? Should I start investing there? And I just kind of didn't really want to be leveling up weapons when it felt like, what if I just get something better, you know? And now I'm going to forget what it is at level 1, what its strength is at level 1. So I kind of liked that. But we do that for a lot of characters, and other characters, man, my nose is running now. We just don't. We go back to the inventory system that we were using for Age of Calamity. So why do some characters have, like, one weapon and that seems to be it, and other characters not? And it was a similar thing for the Knight Construct in this, where I kind of didn't really want to invest super heavily, because what if I get something better? And now, you know, this is 22 power at level 6. What the hell was its power at level 1? Should I invest into this? Is it better? It's 12 power at level 1. Would it be more than 22 power at level 6? I don't know. I can't see a preview or anything like that, so I have no friggin' idea if it's worth switching over. Because I don't remember what this was at level 1. I don't know what their relative power is compared to one another. They're in a state now where they're not really comparable unless I take the time to, like, really do extensive research. So for me trying to, like, plan things out as a player, it really quite sucks. So I kind of wish that there was just one weapon here as well, or something like that. And maybe there'd be a way to, like, swap out different skills, you know, across, like, builds, like you have these different presets set or something like that. Or when you unlock a skill, you can unequip it and re-equip it. And then you can have, like, different presets, and that would solve all sorts of issues. And for characters like the Knight Construct, you have one weapon of, you know, the short sword, the long sword, and the polearm. You know, he has one of each that you can invest into separately. You know, maybe something like that. And then a lot of these generic characters just kind of share the pool. Maybe it's all the generics. And then it's only, like, the important characters that have something, like, actually stand alone. Yeah, it looks like that is how it works. So most characters of the game still have, like, the traditional weapon system. Whereas, like, these 7 up here have a singular weapon and Calamo. So 8 characters. And then the other 11 share an inventory. Which, you know, it's kind of cool that I can be using one sword on, say, you know, Lago, and then I can immediately use it on the Knight Construct. Like, I get that appeal. But I don't think that it's worth the trade-offs when, you know, I'm constantly asking, should I invest here? Should I wait until I get something better? Am I essentially wasting my efforts by investing into this? How do I compare these? Should I have even gotten this past level 6? Because now it's a pain in the ass of me having to do research online to even be able to compare them in the first place. It's just kind of sucky, you know? Other things gameplay-wise, what the heck is the point of capturing territory and making it blue outside of, like, I guess it's literally just being able to access this stuff. Because, I mean, in terms of the rewards, if I do the quest to defend the territory, or I do the quest to reclaim the territory, it gives me the exact same rewards. So I'm not really feeling all that pressed to do them and prevent Ganondorf's army from capturing it. I guess this does give you a feel that, like, you are actively waging war and doing battle and stuff. Part of me does wonder, if you reclaim territory, are you going to be at risk of losing it again later? And you have to be on top of, like, redoing the missions? I really hope that's not the case. That'd be really annoying. I assume the game wouldn't be that annoying and that you could eventually turn the entire map blue. And, you know, again, it's not a mechanic that I engaged with because I wasn't really given a reason to. When I see that, oh no, I'm going to lose the territory. But if I do the mission after losing the territory, it gives me the exact same reward, so who cares? And the things that, you know, I have here, I still keep. And they're the ones I care about. These ones, oh, that would have actually been pretty decently handy. I don't have the materials there anyway. Increase max energy capacity to fly even higher. I've heard that Hylian soldier's hot air balloon has malfunctioned, forcing him into an emergency landing at the bottom of some cliffs. Apparently, the Zonai device which provided flames to that balloon failed, so if we can send him a new heat source, he should be able to return to the skies. With the flint we gave him, the soldier was able to relight his balloon and make it back up to the cliffs. Upon learning of the incident, King Rauru ordered everyone to always carry spare Zonai device and charges with them while out in the field. Oh, energy well. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, the general gameplay is like, you know, it's fine. If you got a kick out of, like, other Dynasty Warriors games, you'll probably get a kick out of this, but other Dynasty Warriors games can be, like, really repetitive, but this game felt like it was much more repetitive. It has other issues, and, very hard mode was designed like shit, considering you only have a finite amount of, like, healing items and hearts each time, like, apart from other, like, workarounds, like, Kia's Secret Stone, for example. But for the most part, what you've got is what you've got. You can't go around and collect more Healy items. And so if you do a really long battle, and it turns out there's a battle against an Archfiend at the end, and now you've checkpointed there, and now you're all out of rations, good luck. Have fun retrying this over and over and over again. And, you know, I kind of wish that in the story chapters there was a little bit of a preview of what we're facing. Because there were some missions where I was like, okay, what if this is a two-parter where there's some big boss at the end that takes, like, forever, and I gotta really conserve my rations. And so I'd be resetting at the beginning of the battle a lot, like, trying to, like, super hoard my rations, or even in the middle of battle, if I knew I got a checkpoint recently and I take a bunch of damage, I just reset from, like, my most recent checkpoint, just because I know I have to save that health, just in case there's something really crazy at the end, because I'm gonna get absolutely fucked if there is. And then a lot of the time, it would turn out there isn't even, and I was conserving all these rations for absolutely nothing. So, I could have been spending them during the times I took damage after all. But I don't know. You'd go into a chapter it's just like, guess. So, that's probably not that much of an issue on the lower difficulties where you have other means to heal, presumably. And, you know, the bosses aren't as tanky. But in this mode where you didn't have other means to heal traditionally, you would get, like, your health pretty shredded by a lot of the bigger boss enemies, and they would just take forever to whittle down. It was just really, really quite annoying. So it made not only those fights specifically annoying, but it made the entire map prior more annoying, because I had to, like, super conserve everything. And so I ended up doing a whole lot of resetting, with no knowledge whether I needed to or not, because I just had to guess to be on the safe side so I wouldn't get screwed if I guessed wrong. And it just was a really quite shitty way to play the game. Like, I know that I was under-leveled for a decent bit of stuff there, especially later on, considering I didn't really engage with much in the way of side stuff, because I didn't have the motivation to. And the game very much expected me to do that, obviously based on the recommended level. But it still... And just taking, like, forever to beat, like, the same big bosses over and over and over again. It's just really annoying. You're doing all these big hits, and you're getting, like, the tiniest little twiddly winks of health off. It's just not that fun. So, I'm sure I'd feel differently if I wasn't playing on very hard there. Never mind Forsaken here, that... Imagine you could start, like, a new game from the beginning, playing right on Forsaken. I assume that's probably not possible, and for good reason. But man, I think they should have done a little bit more extensive testing of very hard to be like, huh, is this really a meaningful challenge? Is this really genuinely fun? If I had, say, off of, like, very hard difficulty, I would say the amount of damage I receive, you know what, that's fine. Whatever, leave it as is. But I would want to do more damage to the enemies, just make them less tanky. Just make it so, like, I'm still fighting them for a little while, and, you know, they're challenging me. But they're not taking forever to slowly whittle the health bar down. And make it so that I can actually have other means to heal during the battle. Like, setting up camps, for example. Setting up camps just felt near worthless unless I wanted to redeem my tickets in very hard mode. So I just didn't set up camp most of the time. I guess that'd be like the one perk to setting up an outpost. So maybe it's more worthwhile on the lower difficulties where you could use them to heal from what I hear. But in this, it was just kind of pointless. So how I would affect very hard is just enemies are less tanky, have other means to heal, so I don't have to like super conserve. Then enemies are still a threat. They still do like big damage to me, and I still have to like be careful. I can't just be showing my face at them. But I don't have to feel like any tiny little hit that I took is like a detrimental loss that's going to be affecting me for the entire rest of the battle because of like how freaking tanky everything is. I think you do those two changes, very hard is probably fine. The amount of damage I was receiving is fine. That's what I would expect from very hard difficulty. But the amount of damage enemies take slash how tanky they are, and the fact that you just can't really get back any healing, that I found to be an issue. It changed the way that I played the game in a way that made it more frustrating rather than meaningfully challenging. So, you know, make those changes, I'd be able to, like, play, continue having fun, but still be challenged because enemies are still doing a lot of damage to me. Oh, I forgot one of the big boss types that we would keep on facing over and over again, Moldugas. Yeah, that was kind of annoying when they just kind of kept on doing, like, the same kind of thing over and over again. The other big bosses, too, to an extent. But Moldugas were the biggest aggressors of just doing, like, the exact same one or two attacks back and forth, over and over again. Especially when the enemies take forever to go down, they would just get really, really quite annoying. So, yeah. Is this game here worth the $100+ when you count tax that I had to spend to buy this game? Absolutely not. I'd say that this is the worst of the Nintendo Warriors games, in my opinion. And a lot of people that... I'm still surprised that a lot of people have played this game and been like, you know what? It's good. It's pretty good. But I guess when the only people that are going to be buying it are going to be, you know, big fans of Tears of the Kingdom that want more of that. Or people that have enjoyed, like, other Nintendo Warriors games, most likely. And, you know, if you're a really big fan of Tears of the Kingdom and you like the other Nintendo Warriors games and you go into this, you know, it's fine. Chances are you might get an enjoyable experience. But if you count this just as a video game standalone, not building off of, like, any previous Nintendo Warriors games, not being a prequel to Tears of the Kingdom, it's especially then that this is just... I think it's genuinely bad. Even if you count it, like, as, you know, Tears of the Kingdom prequel, I think it's genuinely bad. I don't think it's a good game. Hyrule Warriors, I think, is a good game. Age of Calamity, I think, is a good game. I don't think this is a good game. Fire Emblem Warriors, I think, is a good game. Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. Why does it exist? But, like, hey, they took what they were given and they made something, like, good out of it. You know? But, you know, the premise of it existing in the first place is like, really? Is it really necessary? But with that premise, they did what they could out of it. And, you know, it's fine. It's good. This is not. The story is a complete nothing burger outside of, like, the B plot that becomes the main plot at the end. It just feels pointless. It has no rules. It's not consistent. It's just go and do objectives. It's kind of like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, a world of side quests, the way that I described it. The music, maybe there's some good parts, but you can't appreciate because the adaptive music completely destroys the experience. And then the gameplay suffers from the issues that I just described there of being, like, super repetitive. There's no point to do so many things. It's just not very good there, I don't think. So, I think a lot of people would look at a game like this and be like, oh yeah, it's mid. And a lot of people that would look at a game that they would consider mid that's attached to something that they already have, like, a strong connection to, like, say, Tears of the Kingdom, and all of a sudden you get a bunch of reviews being thrown out there like 7s or 8s out of 10s, because that's what a lot of people consider mid, where I kind of hate so many review systems. A lot of people would consider 8 out of 10 to be, like, mid-good kind of thing. I'd count this as mid-bad. One day, if I ever do start doing, like, more proper standalone reviews on the channel, I've been thinking in the back of my mind about rating games on, like, a 5-point system, like, just out of 5 is all I would do, where, you know, 5 doesn't mean perfect game. 5 just means, like, fantastic game. Like, I don't think I've ever played a perfect game. 5 would be, like, absolutely fantastic, out of this world, like, I'm so glad I got to play that game. 4 would be like, you know what, that was pretty good. In in an area, in a industry with so many games out there, this one is definitely still worth your time. It's good. 3 would be like, it's mid. Like, it's fine. It's average. Like, if you get a kick out of this kind of gameplay / this series, you'll probably enjoy it. But otherwise, it's not really worth going and seeking out when there's so many different games out there. 2 would be like, it's kind of bad. It's not that good. Like, if you're not a fan of like the type of gameplay or a fan of the series, then there's no point to ever seek it out. But if you have like a strong connection to like the other games in said series or the gameplay or the story or something like that, then maybe you'll still get a kick out of it. Maybe in that case it's still worth your time, but generally speaking it's bad. And then 1 would be like, this game is genuine garbage. Like, next to no redeeming qualities, absolute waste of money. On a 5-point scale, like with that kind of rating system, I would rate this 2. I would rate this a 2 out of 5. Now to games I would rate 1 are kind of far and few between. There are some. Skull and Bones, Detective Pikachu Returns. There are some that I would definitely rate it. This game I would rate a 2 on that scale. It's less than mid. It's at the point where it's like, if you're a casual Zelda player and don't really care that much about the story, and you haven't really played Hyrule Warriors before, or Dynasty Warriors before, I should say, this game is not worth your time. Like, stay far away. It's not even mid. If you really, really love Tears of the Kingdom and really want to get more of that, and you really like the Nintendo Warriors games and really want to get more of that, sure, maybe it's worth it then. But outside of that, it's not. That's my review of The Legend of Zelda, not The Legend of Zelda, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. What a waste of time. Well, Janlands in like 3 weeks from now, technically a little bit under 3 weeks now. I'll probably be playing a whole bunch of different games at Janland. Maybe, but just because I didn't showcase the multiplayer of this game, maybe there's a small chance if I have extra time, I do like one side mission in this game and showcase like local 2-player or something like that, just for the sake of showcasing it, But I have lots of things planned for Janland, so it's not going to be super high on my priority list. So I'd say it's more likely than not, this is the end of Age of Imprisonment. If it's not, it's going to be like very briefly showcasing, this is what multiplayer looks like in this game. Just out of curiosity. Oh yeah, and I did look up the other day, like, what all the playable characters in this game are. Apparently I have them all. In Age of Calamity, there was, like, some secret characters that you could unlock, like Calamity Ganon. I never unlocked that because I was, like, the 100% bonus. So there's, like, some really cool stuff that you could work towards as completion bonuses and doing stuff around the world. Like being able to play as Calamity Ganon. This game doesn't really have that. It's just kind of go through the story, and along the way, there's the side missions of collecting some guys. Like, the fact that you can't play as Ganondorf in this game, even as like a 100% bonus, like Calamity Ganon in Age of Calamity there, is really quite sucky. So it feels like this game kind of pales in comparison to even Age of Calamity in many ways as well. So, yeah. Guess that's all. This review went on for a decent while. This review has gone on for at least an hour here, as I see that my current stream uptime is. Never mind how much of the review I was giving before even, before my stream even went down. I was not planning on being awake this long tonight. I was already a little bit tired enough as is, though, you know, I did kind of fuel up for this by having my little power nap before doing this, so it kind of saw me through. And hey, that's another game off the game schedule done. Kind of the one on my game schedule that I had the least motivation for playing lately, so there's that. Some parts of this game I'll remember, like Calmo and the Night Construct a little bit. The rest, screw this game. I'm done. Appreciate everyone that tuned into this stream of Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Appreciate everyone that tuned into this playthrough in general. Appreciate anyone that could well be watching this as part of my series on the Era of Wilds for Zelda. This is the 4th game in the Era of Wilds, and probably the final one. So I guess this is where the Era of Wilds saga ends. Or anyone that could be watching this as part of my Legend of Zelda series in general. Appreciate you all. I'm gonna head out of here for now. So, until next time, I guess one more quick thing that I can say is, in terms of the future of Zelda on this channel, one day when I have the time, I wouldn't mind showcasing Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Just that way I've done all the mainline 3D Zelda games. Those are the only two that I'm missing. So one day I would like to do those, but I have a lot of other games on my priority list, so I don't know when that would be going on. But one of these days, probably a good chance I end up playing one of those. Probably Wind Waker first, before the next proper mainline Zelda game that comes out. Since, you know, it's pretty long gaps between releases of big Zelda games, so I don't know. Maybe the next one on the channel will be Wind Waker, or who knows. Maybe something else will come up. We shall see. So, just figure I'd add that little note about the future of Zelda on this channel. That's probably what the next game would be, is Wind Waker. One day. And in terms of the next Nintendo Warriors game, or I guess just Dynasty Warriors game in general, I don't know if I'm ever doing the other routes of of Three Hopes. Kind of pooped out on that. And I've been meaning since like 2022, since I first played Persona 5, to play Persona 5 Strikers. I've owned it for years. I'll play it one of these days. But after this game, I'm a little bit Dynasty Warriors out. I'm going to need to take a little bit of a breather and break here. And then maybe sometime this year, maybe this year, will finally be the year that I get around to Persona 5 Strikers. That's my plan next Dynasty Warriors game to play on this channel. So, keep an eye out for that, but I mentally need to take a break from this before I can consider playing that game. So that's a future of upcoming Warriors/Zelda games on this channel. And with that, I'm gonna go try and get some rest. So until next time, take care, and see ya.